So we can get ourselves settled on our cushion or chair. Will guide us through a meditation for the next half hour. Just inviting a sense of relaxation through the body, even while people are still arriving, settling in. And tuning in to how it feels to invite a sense of restfulness through the body. And also noting that the mind is aware. Some degree of alertness. Even with the relaxation, the mind is aware of relaxing, resting. We only need as much effort as it takes to be interested. And tuning into that natural interest in how it feels to have a body. A body that's alive with sensation, sensitive to stimulation, sound. Keeping relaxation or restfulness in mind. As we explore what it's like to be interested. Learning to trust the sense of relaxation that's here and now. And being willing to adjust in support of relaxation. Which might require us to shift from honing into one thing to a more broad awareness of the whole body, or a relaxed attitude that is willing to include sounds and other sense experience. The naturally interested mind is supported by relaxation. And remembering that this experience is here lawfully. The subjective felt sense is here lawfully. Not a personal problem. Not personal at all. Can we learn to relax with what belongs to nature? Inviting the mind to be interested in how this orientation is supportive, supports the continuity of awareness. Supports the ability to attend wisely. Feeling the movement of sensation, the movement of feeling, the movement of experience. Remembering to relax. and feel. can take a minute to stretch your legs if you'd like. Good morning. I'm not Mark, but I'm happy to be here filling in for Mark while Mark is teaching a retreat this month at the Forest Refuge, which some of you might know. I am Mark's counterpart. We are co-guiding teachers here at Common Ground, so. So I want to talk this morning a little about samadhi and its relationship to the Noble Eightfold Path. Before I get too far, I want to acknowledge that it's been a difficult week here in Minnesota. With all the ice raids and real harm. And that's not only challenging for people who are being taken or approached for our immigrant community, but also for all of us who love them. Yeah. And I think one of the challenges in times where things are hot, intense crisis moments or peak moments in our lives throughout history, we could probably say this is true, is that there tends to be an easy, it's a well-greased avenue for division. I remember being in a conversation with my partner a long time ago, and somebody else was there, and they said, well, aren't you on the same team? And then we were like, oh, wait, yeah, we are. So it can be so easy to divide and feel that, within moments of tension, real peak moments in our lives. And I think one of the lessons from the Buddha's instructions on how to take care of the mind is about inviting back in a sense of connection and stability and lack of division. Right? When the mind when we're stressed, we'll default to the most well-greased habits, right? Which is often to think and to divide and to, where's the enemy? How do I figure that out? Right? But the Buddha's instructions on samadhi is like, okay, where's the strength? Where's the presence? And how does cultivating a wise presence, because samadhi is really in relationship to wisdom, always in relationship to wisdom. It's not, okay, let me back up. Samadhi, what does that even mean? Start there, right? The samadhi is, we sometimes call it concentration or continuity of awareness. It's a steady awareness. So when the mind is more and more capable of being steady, of being present, of being connected in the present moment, a more stabilized present moment awareness, that's what we call samadhi. And we would say that as meditators, that's what we're most interested in, is cultivating this or harnessing this natural power of the mind so that it's applied in a skillful way, right? Because concentration is a natural thing to all of us. So raise your hand if you've ever read a book. Or any musicians in the house? Anybody play music? Yeah? Right? Or do, maybe not play music, but do some kind of art? Right? Anybody cook? Yeah? Yeah. So there's lots of ways that concentration, the natural skill of the mind, concentration gets applied gets, the mind can get absorbed into something, into watching a show even. But we could say that concentration in that way is ethically neutral, right? It's just something that the mind knows how to do and can be trained to do. And in Buddhism, that skill has to align somewhere with the greater path, so that it's a skill that's in support of something. And that something is understanding more deeply, feeling into more deeply the way it is, how it actually is, beyond our assumptions of the way it is, or even beyond what our ordinary minds tend to notice. We don't even tend to notice that the mind is concentrated when it is. We're just like, oh, this is a really great show, right? Or I'm in the flow of something. Some years ago, George Mumford, who is a teacher on the East Coast, he came to talk to a group of us, a Dharma teacher, and he, if you know him or his work, he has spent a lot of time training professional athletes on the power of concentration. So Phil Jackson hired him to work with the Bulls back when Michael Jordan was playing, and training these basketball players on mindfulness and concentration. And what he said was that Michael Jordan didn't need that training because his mind was already so good at concentration. So just to point to how it's natural, and that power can be used for good, right? In support of deepening wisdom, deepening understanding, like helping the mind be more clear. Right? And how we train when things are more simple, like here at Common Ground, when it's a pretty friendly crowd. You don't have to know everybody to know that it's a pretty friendly crowd. Not a perfect crowd by any means, but a pretty friendly one. And a crowd in which people are coming together for a particular reason, because we care about present moment awareness and about cultivating good, wholesome qualities of the mind and about living through them. So, we could say this is a simple environment and a one that's conducive to training, right? When it's easy, when it's simple, when things are pretty harmonious. And the way that we train now will support the way the mind is able to respond in moments when it's more complicated, like when we get home. It'll be more complicated then, right? With our families and the doing and whatever else, taking care of children or whatever else we're going to do. And inevitably will be more complicated than this, right? And so if we can train the mind to be here now, to cultivate, to care about that, to know it, to value stability of mind, then that habit, those habits of mind that get cultivated in easy times, have a life of their own. They have their own momentum, and they naturally show up for us in moments when we need it, right? But if we don't know, if we don't practice in moments when things are easier, and if we don't know to value present moment awareness, then those habits won't be strong enough. It won't be your fault, that the habits that we want aren't there in moments when we need them. It'll just be nature, right? It's just nature. It's just the nature of habit, the nature of momentum. The habits that get cultivated are the ones, habits that get noticed and cultivated are the habits that are going to be the strongest, that are going to show up for us in all the moments we need it. So it might be good just to take a minute to reflect on a time over the past week or 2 weeks, or just a time in your life in which you recognize there was some stability of mind and the way that felt. And so we can know that it's possible because it does happen in our lives in which we feel that kind of stability, that present moment awareness, that feels more stable, that we feel, and there's something, often something more there than just stability. We might feel some other wholesome qualities of mind, like stability tends to be connected, at least for me, and I think for most of us, but more obviously connected to qualities of faith or confidence. In Buddhism, faith isn't like faith in something that's going to save me, but it's in this like confidence that the mind can learn and that there's some value in the training that we're doing. Right? So faith or confidence or trust in present moment is always aligned with present moment awareness. It supports mindfulness. Because I know how it feels to be present, and I know how it feels to not be present. And I know the value of being present in a difficult moment, like having a conversation with my wife. Right? I know how it feels to be connected and available. I know how it feels to be aware of the tension in my heart in conflict and how valuable that actually is, right? So awareness doesn't make the tensions go away. It actually shines the light on those places of tension so that we can learn and decide what we want to do next. So this neutral concentration, we would say, is inherently neutral, but when it is connected with the Noble Eightfold Path, then it becomes wise concentration. It becomes wise samadhi. Samadhi that's in service of something, our learning, our connection with the way it is. Right? And in fact, this stability of mind supports insight. We wouldn't have insight without stability of mind. Like it's the powerhouse, right? That allows the mind to understand something more deeply. And so it's good to remember, okay, samadhi is a part of the process, not the end game, but a part of the process of cultivating wisdom, of leading a skillful life. And the Noble Eightfold Path is divided up, and you can say it's like got 3 parts or 8 parts. The 3 parts are the ethical part, the mind training part, the cultivation of samadhi, and the cultivation of wisdom. So these 3 main buckets. And of course, in each of these buckets, there's more nuance there. So like in the ethical part, in the ethical bucket, there's a wise action, wise speech, wise livelihood. So really getting into the nitty-gritty of how we're living. And in the wisdom part of the path, that's bringing some awareness to, like, what is our orientation for life? Are we here to learn something? Are we here to get something right? Wise intention, what is our motivation? What attitude or what motivations are guiding our lives? And you can maybe even see just in the way I talk about them a little bit that they're not just isolated path factors, they're connected path factors, right? So we have a wise view or wise orientation that, okay, that I'm here on this earth to learn something, to deepen into more skillful living, to learn something about the way it is, to understand how everything is in motion, to understand how life is an expression of nature, something like this, right? This wise orientation then might lead me to make some intentions like, oh, I wanna cultivate love and lead with love in my life, something like that, right? And when we have those intentions, they naturally connect up with how we move, how we act, right? What we say, what we do, how we choose to participate in the collective by working and volunteering and consuming and producing, all of that. right? And when we're, part of what we do when we're living out our ethical values, right, when our intentions or our motivations are supporting our values, is that naturally the mind starts to feel good. We start to feel good about how we're living, right? And if we can learn to tune into that good feeling, right? Oh, we're living, I'm doing my best right now. I'm doing my best right now. Right? I really care about not causing harm right now. I really care about being in connection with other human beings right now. I care about feeling into that. Right? When we do that, then it makes it a more natural experience to do what we do on the cushion. Makes it easier. Otherwise, we cultivate, if we're only interested in samadhi for its own, like we take it as like an isolated thing, then it's a bit unkind. Even, it feels to me like a bit unkind to try to make the mind be still, right? When perhaps the mind is not quite integrated, our lives aren't integrated enough to be able to deal with what that's like, right? When we force the mind to be still. But if our lives are integrated, that relaxation comes naturally. If we care about living an ethical life and what motivations or intentions are fueling our actions and our speech, then we sit down on the cushion and, there aren't many surprises because we've learned to be aware during the day. And of course, there are going to be some surprises. Not that there are no surprises, right? Because we're deluded. So we're not always going to know, yeah. And we sit down and we're like, oh, wow, I didn't know there was so much hatred in this heart or something. And it's shocking. That's normal. But it's also the power of samadhi to shine the light on that too. Right? But largely we sit down and we go, oh yeah, I'm doing my best. Not perfect, but I'm doing my best. And that relaxation, which is what supports stability of mind, relaxation or ease, right? Contentedness is another word. We sit down and that makes sense. It just makes natural sense to the mind to try to relax. And it won't be perfect, we'll be restless and everything else, but we can see how easy it is when the mind is interested in relaxation to be aware. Don't have to really work that hard at it. Through that ease, the body becomes more obvious. Through that relaxation, being activated becomes more obvious, right? And just to kind of point back to this integration that I'm speaking of, that samadhi in relationship to the whole path, it can be sometimes, we can get a little bit like, ooh, samadhi, let me get some of that. Like somehow it's a mystical experience or something, right? But to talk about it in really ordinary terms, that the mind knows how to concentrate and we're cultivating an ethical kind of concentration in which the mind knows what to tune into, what to attend to, like attentional stabilization, makes it hopefully feel a little bit more ordinary. And sometimes we can make the mistake of thinking that samadhi is maybe a way to escape. I've caught myself thinking at times, oh, I really need a retreat right now. But what I really mean is my life is hard and it feels hard to be here. So we don't have to be afraid when we feel that, like, oh, let me find some escape, because it is really powerful and it feels good, to be present, even for just a few minutes. In the beginning of a sit or the middle of a sit, when there is some stability of mind, you might notice like, oh, this feels good. And it's easy to want more of that. And to remember that good feeling then it's reinforcing for us, because we'll keep looking for it, because it is the powerhouse of our practice. And we got to keep remembering, like, oh, what is this in support of? Is it escape? Is it, what is it? What is it? What is the orientation of my life? What is the orientation of my mind? And how is present moment awareness supporting me now? So that when I feel the activation of my heart, I don't want to run away from it. I actually just want to feel it because, I'm here to learn something. Like, oh yeah, greed, hatred, and delusion runs through every human being, just like it does right here. It feels like this right now. And we'll know, the mind will learn what to trust there. Like, oh, is this the way to go? Or is there something else, right? And even in that moment, is this the way to go? It might feel painful. It feels painful to me. And yet the mind can learn and has learned to tune into the expression of compassion that's meeting that pain. So it's not even like I need another program to be a loving human being. I just recognize, oh, sweetie, this gets to be included. And that's the function of love. It includes even painful experiences. So the power of the mind to connect and sustain present moment awareness, even in moments when it feels painful, can lead us to understand something more deeply, always lead us to understand something more deeply, but sometimes in surprising ways, like, oh, I didn't know this heart knew how to love right in the middle of feeling such deep pain, right? Or feeling self-hatred and actually being able to connect right there. Right? That's good. Yeah, it's good. The Buddha used this image of a ship being pulled up to land and tethered somewhere and then just left for years and years and years. And what happens to the ship and the rope and everything else over time is that it just slowly starts to rot, right? Because of the conditions. And although it's not an attractive simile, this image is used to describe what it's like to strengthen the wholesome qualities of mind with time and practice, right? And we might call that strengthening. We might call that purifying the mind. Not purifying like we're just hammering out everything that's, like strong-willed, hammering out everything that we know isn't skillful, but because of the willingness to include, the willingness to be with, the stability of present moment awareness to connect with even unpleasant, unskillful, not beneficial mind states, right? The heart learns, because of wisdom, the heart learns like, oh, this isn't the way to go, right? So that slow eroding of what's unskillful happens with time, and largely because of the power of that mind to gather and harness its energy and apply it in service of learning. And I think this, I said that samadhi tends to draw on other wholesome qualities of mind, like faith. We have to have some confidence. That's part of that reflection. And we could do this every day. It wouldn't be enough. But just to reflect on a moment when it felt valuable, when connection and presence in that felt valuable. Right? It helps us have a little faith. And we'll need that faith. We'll need that concentration, or we'll need that faith to harness the power of the mind in difficult moments, because in difficult moments, that feels too hard. And it feels impossible even, right? And sometimes we'll start to rationalize like, oh, this can't be valuable now, right? Surely later I'll go back to that. But in this moment, something else has got to be valuable, right? And we can even start to think that through, and it makes sense. But this is the mind that's more divided. But the mind that's connected, present, feeling, that's a different mind. Yeah. So to taste it, we can learn to trust it. And even when we tip into that place of starting to feel like, oh, this isn't trustworthy, surely concentration or samadhi isn't the way to go now. I got to use something else. Then we go, is that true? Is that true? It might be hard, but is it true? And my work is not done here, you know? So I want to keep asking that question, because the Buddha learned that there is a way for the heart to feel peaceful in the middle of the most trying circumstances. And I don't think the Buddha meant the kind of peace that was passive, or doesn't mean that we sit on the couch like a lump and don't take care of ourselves or each other. We can get up and cook dinner and do all kinds of things with our lives, right? But can we invite that sense of ease to connect up with the energy that we need to do our lives and keep doing our lives, but keep asking that question, is samadhi useful now? And instead of thinking that we have the answer, just keep investigating it. Stay interested in the possibility, right? So not only do we need faith, maybe in different ways to talk about faith, trust, courage even is one way, right? Inspiration is one way. Sometimes we need the inspiration of each other to go, oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, somebody else knows how to do it. You know, at least now, somebody else knows how to do it. Yeah. May that inspire me to keep exploring on my own, right? So we can use all those different words to talk about faith, which is really just confidence to keep exploring, right? And I think the willingness to keep seeing about samadhi also includes a great deal of humility. Because we're going to watch the mind go like, oh, that's not relevant. It's not relevant. And then that humility kicks in and we go, well, maybe, you know. I've not arrived yet. Maybe, yeah. Or we're going to watch ourselves not like what we feel and not know what to do with it. And we're going to say, is it present moment awareness? Is it relevant right now? And we're going to have to bow to the difficulty of it, to the not knowing, to the confusion in some way, just to keep exploring it for ourselves. I want to read a little bit from this book by Kittisaro and Thanissaro, the two wonderful teachers, called Listening to the Heart, A Contemplative Journey to Engage Buddhism. And this is where Kittisaro is talking about samadhi. First, I'm going to cough. Meditation is the cultivation of a steady mind. In its natural state, the mind is like a mirror. Just as a mirror is completely unaltered by what is reflected in it, be it demons or angels, so too the natural mind is untainted by what appears within it. A mirror is essentially empty, and so is the mind. Although empty, the mind is also luminous and aware. It is conscious. The consciousness is endowed with a natural intelligence. It knows. The constant parade of the mind's activity, however, obscures its innate clarity and clouds the clear knowing. The Thai forest master Ajahn Tate described the essential purpose of meditation as discerning the difference between mind and activity of mind. In order to see the difference, there needs to be steadiness of attention. The steadiness is called samadhi. Samadhi can be translated as concentration or one-pointedness, though this term can give the impression that the mind has to be narrow, like an ice pick. For many meditators, just the word concentration starts to make them feel uneasy and tense. I prefer to translate samadhi as gathered or centered. In samadhi, the energies of body, speech, and mind are suffused with awareness and become unified. And I would say suffused with wisdom awareness and become unified. And then a little bit later, although, according to some meditation masters, samadhi is particularly difficult to master. To illustrate the three aspects of the path, another Thai forest master, Ajahn Lee, uses the analogy of a bridge that crosses a dangerous shore over a turbulent river to a place of safety. The bridge is a metaphor for moving from suffering to the end of suffering. He said that the two support columns on the near and far side, ethics and wisdom, are easier to build because the current in the shallows is not so strong and fast. So these two parts of the path, three parts of the path, but ethics and wisdom being two of the three, are easier to build because the current in the shallows is not so strong and fast. But in the middle of the stream, where the current is deep and swift, the work is very challenging. Samadhi is very challenging. While all three trainings are difficult, ethics is relatively straightforward and tangible, and wisdom arises effortlessly when the mind is composed. The central column of samadhi, however, is easily swept away by the turbulent currents of the heart when it is not firmly established. The practice of samadhi requires a lot of persistence and patience in order for it to bear fruit, just as it is difficult to plunge the supporting column of a bridge into the middle of a fast-flowing river. It is very challenging to develop steadiness in the midst of the fast-flowing currents of the mind. Yeah, somehow that makes me feel like I'm okay. Make you feel like you're okay? Yeah. Like it seems like the continuity of present moment awareness is so elusive, isn't it? Yeah, we might really care, and it takes, a lot of repetition, a lot of remembering. The repetition that we need is the repetition to remember that we value it, right? To remember to keep it in mind. And yet the currents of the mind are so deep and so strong that even when there is stability of mind, right, what we feel can, if without wise orientation, it can feel like I'm hopeless, But they're just deep currents. Habits run very deep. We can sometimes notice the habits of our mind and trace them back somewhere. I can do that. At least to some extent, we can all do like, oh yeah, that habit formed in childhood, right? And here I am, X number of years old, with still a pretty strong version of that. But that's just coming together the way we've learned, the mind has learned through our life, right? Life is our greatest teacher. And sometimes the mind learns to cope with the challenges of life by cultivating unskillful habits of mind. They're just coping, right? Coping with life's challenges, coping with pain, coping with difficulty. And when we learn new skills, like the skill of samadhi, even though it's fleeting and elusive, learning to trust it is a really important thing to do because it will keep shining the light on the depth of those habits. And we aren't able to control them, right? But we can bow to them and learn to relate to them as best we can, right? Learn to relate to them. So the way the mind is relating is really powerful. And that reflective quality of mindfulness, that gets strengthened by moment after moment after moment of knowing, will just reflect back more and more subtle, deeper tendencies of mind. Right? But we have to notice like, oh, there is a strength of mind. There is a wholesome mind that's noticing an unwholesome mind. It's because of the power of present moment awareness that we can even know that. Otherwise, we just act out these habits. And it's like this, right? It's messy. Yeah. So to bow, to surrender, is a powerful application of practice. Yeah. Not a passive surrendering, but a surrendering like, oh, this is a force to be reckoned with, right? There's a strength here. And to trust that with these newer, I mean, I've been at this for more than 20 years, and I would say with newer skills of cultivating present moment awareness, it's just gonna, why not be interested in the value of present moment awareness for the rest of my life, rather than to think that I'm gonna somehow arrive at an end place that now I'm gonna be a healed human being, or what that really means is a new person. I'm still gonna be the same person, right? Just with greater skills and strength and an understanding of how the mind works. How does the mind work? Right. So I'll have to leave it here. Say thank you for your attention. And I think we have a few announcements before we head out. Let's see our program hosts, Miriam or Joanna? Oh, here you are.
So just a reminder. Hi, this is Miriam. I'm a program host. Can you hear me? Yeah, just a reminder, if you can carry the folding chairs back down into the basement, that'd be very helpful. And just a reminder that our center does operate on dharma. So that is willingly and freely giving and receiving. So there are no dues or any obligation to receiving this gift freely, but we just want to have you reflect on how it feels to give what feels right to you. Anything else specifically that, yeah, Gabe?
We have a guest teacher this Thursday, Shodo Spring. She's a Zen teacher, and she's just come out with a book sort of on the intersection of Dharma and engaging with the environment and protecting the environment. So that's this Thursday, 7 to 8:30. Everyone's welcome to join for that.
Thanks, Gabe. Thanks, everybody. I think Lucy's here for small groups. Is that right? Wave, Lucy, so I can see you if you're there. Yay. So Austin will transfer host to Lucy. And if you'd like to stay for 10, 15 minutes and just discuss whatever came up for you with the talk, we can help you get into small groups here in the hall.